Okay, I haven't recorded anything for 3 or 4 months, so anyhow, this is like part 8 of the 1968 Mustang convertible being converted into a Shelby GT3 Shelby 500 GT KR car. And so a lot has changed. The suspension, for the most part, has been installed. It's got new Coney shocks, new lower A-arm, new springs, new 1-inch sway bar, new strut rods. The disc brake is off of the 68 Thunderbird. Brake lines are installed. Part of the front grille is I made this oil cooler for it, kind of replicating the Shelby oil cooler. And over here is the other side of the suspension. And same thing, Coney shocks, new A-arm, lower arm, strut bar, whatever. And this is the installation of the 429 Thunderjet that's being installed in this car. It fits in there. It's tight, but it fits in there. You can see that there is clearance down there, and I still have to put the headers on. But for the most part, it's fitting pretty good. There's the oil lines with the oil adapter. It's got a new fuel pump in it, lower radiator hose, air conditioner pump. I haven't really checked that out. I'm hoping it's good. It's got the original valve covers on it. I had to put a cable downshift lever on it because I just couldn't get the other rod to work because it's just so tight down in there. You can see there's just not a lot of room, but the throttle does work, and it doesn't interfere. It's got the original coil, original cap. This is the radiator I got off Craigslist. Bought a fan shroud for it. That's the voltage regulator that came with the car. It's got a new distributor, new water pump, new oil, new chain, timing chain. It's got new valve seats. It's got new oil pump. It's got a new thermostat housing and thermostat. The hoses were a challenge to find. It's got a new alternator, dual pulley. I have to take that off because I got to get in there to get to the headers. It's got a new starter solenoid, and it's got the Shelby terminal block for the ammeter inside the car. This is an air-conditioned car, so there are the air conditioner lines coming out of it. It's got the air valve for the heater control on it, vacuum control I should say. I had to buy a new dipstick for the transmission because there wasn't any room to put the original one. The original one would have come out here somewhere and would have interfered with the headers. So I elected to just go without the original one and bought an aftermarket one. The transmission line for the modulator valve is set up. I'll take the cap off here and show you the carburetor. The carburetor has been rebuilt. Took 8 months to get that thing. Let's see what it looks like under here. And that's the rebuilt carburetor. It's actually done to concourse level, which not really necessary, but anyhow, that's what it is. It's a Autolite 4300. This is an automatic car. So that's been done. So the project right now is to get the headers on. I had them, I checked fit to make sure they would fit, and I had to do some modifications, but we sent them out to Hot Jet to get them ceramic coated, and this is what you get back from Hot Jet. You can see I had a little whammo there I had to do to get them to fit. But these are Ford Performance headers for a 429 or a 460 engine. It's got the thicker 3/8 flange on it. They did a great job. I mean, they stamped it for the year and date it was made. They put the customer's name on it, and they identified it for what it fits. But also the heat jet people, I mean, they actually coated inside and out, so the performance of these things should keep the car engine a lot cooler. They're saying that the exhaust will be about 20 or about 52% cooler than it would be without that coating on there. And so that's pretty impressive. So that's a challenge with that. Finally got most of the Shelby parts. I got the hood. I got the, hey Panther boy. That's Panther. I got the hood. I got the air intake chamber. I got the lower valance. The headlight buckets are in the house. I got the rear trunk. I got one end cap, and I got the rear tail light Shelby piece, and I mounted the trunk lid on there, and it fits fairly well. I mean, that rear quarter is just not the greatest for gap, but the gap there is pretty good. And the gap there is about the same, but you can see there is a wider gap here because the way that fender's made, that rear quarter is made. But for the most part, I'm happy with it. I mean, for what this car is, I mean, it's not a show car by any means, so it should be okay. Other than that, I've installed the air conditioning heater box. The shifter linkage is not all hooked up. Modified that to make that fit correctly. I installed the steering column. I've hooked up the convertible top switch, the fog lights switch, and the wiring harness for the fog light. So that's all been done. So the next big part of this thing is really to, once I get the engine put back together, I have to go ahead and put the body together and see what kind of issues I have with the body fitment. For the most part, I have all the pieces except for one rear quarter extension for the passenger side. This car is power disc brakes now. It's got a new what they call that. It's the for the brakes to keep the brakes in check for the front to the back. God, I can't remember anything anymore. A new master brake cylinder. It's got all new brakes all the way around. It's got actually 11-inch rear brakes in the back. New horns. I mean, the car is pretty much new for the most part. I'm waiting on one power steering hose. Trying to get the parts for it has virtually been a 2-year struggle. I got all the belts for it. The radiator hoses seem like they should work. I haven't really tried the lower radiator hose. I had to put an extension on it. I had to raise the engine up about 1 inch to make everything fit better. And it really didn't have an impact on anything other than the back firewall got a little tighter. You can see in there it is just extremely tight. But it all should work out. It's also got a new power or steering box. It's got new wiring harnesses throughout. Kept the same washer hose. New fuel lines. And underneath is just as good as the top. I mean, it's I went through a lot of work to clean that up, to get everything as clean as it can be underneath. I don't know if you can see under there, but everything. Let me get a cardboard here and I'll crawl underneath there if I can find one. Let's see. I don't know how good the light's going to be, but we'll give it a whirl. So, underneath the car. You can see it's pretty much all been rebuilt. Oil pan's been cleaned out and replaced. It's got a new rear main seal. Transmission, I took apart. I had to change the shifter linkage because it was a column shift drive for the Thunderbird, so that's been done. Linkages for the steering arms and everything. I also had to lower. I also lowered the sway bar 3/4 of an inch to hopefully enhance that. I've got this bushing on back, that washer on backwards on both sides. I don't know what I was thinking. I saw a car that had that way and I questioned it, but anyhow, I gotta change that. I haven't got the steering arm in, the steering box, the control linkage for the steering, because I got to get up underneath here to get the headers in, and that is just going to be the challenge, is to get that set of headers in there. I mean, they fit. I put them in there, mocked it all up, and everything fits. It's just a matter of making sure that I get everything, all the bolts tightened up. So it's coming along pretty good. It's coming along pretty good. So once I get it to be in a roller, I'll be a lot happier with it so that I can move it around. I did buy and I was able to get the Shelby wheels for it, and here's that oil cooler that I made. This is from a in-house water heater baseboard boiler vent thing, and it's all copper and it's tied in all together there. This is the light for the Shelby driving light over here as well. It's got it. I still got to get the radiator, or not the radiator, but the air conditioner condenser. Got the rubber front seal on it. And then further back, if I can get under here. Okay, so further back here, you can see transmission. You can see the cable for the downshift. Parking brake. I had to make this modify the transmission mount because it was too far up, so I had to move it back for the C6 transmission. The whole car has been undercoated, or not undercoated, but painted with the red oxide primer. There's the 9-inch rear end. It's posi traction with the limited slip, and it's got 300 gears in it, and I didn't go crazy and put 350s in it or anything faster because I don't plan to race this thing. This is a cruiser and I want the best gas mileage it can. It's also got Coney shocks in the back, and it also has a rear 3/4 inch sway bar per the factory. But everything is pretty much coming in pretty good. Let me get a light in so you can see it better. It's kind of dark underneath here. Also color coded does. I just ran red, white, and blue. I don't know what the color is supposed to be on that. Let me get a light so you can have a better idea what it looks like under there. It's got 3H fuel line, all new in the back, all stainless steel. New brake lines, stainless steel. The only thing that wasn't stainless steel as far as the lines, I went with carbon steel for the transmission. But there you go, you can see pretty much in detail the rear differential. That's that Mustang rear end, came out of '67 Mustang. Those are 9-inch or 11-inch rear brakes drums. That's what Shelby had in his. I put new springs on it. The springs are actually 5-leaf springs, not the 4-leaf springs. I wanted a little stiffer back there, and but you can see it's pretty well detailed. Get it here so you can see in here better again. You can see now, probably better. You can see the linkage in there, and this thing is tight. I also fabricated the Boss 302 crossmember bar. I put reinforcement rods or plates in it like they had on the Boss 302s, so that gives it a little stronger support back there. But you can see there's just a lot of stuff going on in this thing. And let's go back to the front. Let me show you that again. You can see over here on this side, you can see the gas line there. And let's go back and I'll show you the rear axle on the sway bar side. I know I'm going all over the place, but as I said, I haven't recorded anything in a long time. And okay, so this is back underneath the rear end of the car, and you can see the rear sway bar, Coney shocks, rear brake lines, vent tube, shocks up there, drum brakes. So it's also got new shackles. Those were the real original tow hooks from the dealer or from the Ford, and my understanding was they were supposed to take them off, but I don't know if they did or not. Some did and some didn't, so it's not really a big deal. See up through here. Oop. See up in there. It's pretty clean. I tried to clean it as best I could. The brake line runs, or the gas line runs up through there. Spot welded like it's supposed to be. It's really dusty under here. It's a shame that it's just so dusty that I can't really do anything with it. So that's it for the most part back here. Let's go back up to the front and look at that one more time. Okay, this is a little better light, so hopefully you'll be able to see it a little better. Okay, those are transmission lines. I haven't put the starter in yet because I wanted room for the headers to go in. But you can see where the red oxide primer is. Never really did get that transmission very clean underneath there. It's also got new freeze plugs in it, or casting plugs, whatever you want to call it. Here's the lower dampener pulley, and here's the bottom radiator hose. And I think I can take that thing out. I had to bend that. That's why I had to lower the car, and I bent that thing down to help with the radiator hose, but I think I can bend it back up now. I haven't tried it yet, but it'd be nice if I can do that. Here's that other side. That back washer is reversed and needs to be turned around. So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's got new everything. So here's the other side of that. All right. Here's the other side of that oil cooler. Had to make some brackets to make it fit correctly, and but it does clear for the valance, and those are hydraulic hoses, so there's no problem with making sure that those are not going to work right. So that's it. That's it. Engine mount down there. I had to raise it up, and I put that, there's a little block down there. I don't see if you can see it very well. There's a little 1-inch block. I put that under there because there was an empty hole there. And so I put that block there just so that that plate, if there's any thought of it moving down, it can't move down. So and you can see down through here, there's not much room. There's not much room anywhere. You can see how close that engine sits to the firewall. It's not touching, but it's close. And that's a metal stainless steel vacuum line coming from the modulator valve. That's the oil pressure gauge. I plugged off the hot water heaters if it was a non-air conditioned car. Those lines are red striped like it's supposed to be. I also had to make a better air snorkel. And I mean the original air snorkel, I don't understand why it should be longer than this one. But I made it this snorkel. I bought a 390 snorkel and I added a little bit to it. But the other ones, they look to be longer. So I don't know if maybe the engine is just bigger and has to have different different placement. I don't know. And there again, way down there, you can see that little plate I put in on both sides. Those engine mounts are actually 69 429 for Boss 429 engine mounts. That oil cooler adapter, that actually came off of an RV with a 460 in it, and so the oil filter tilts back a little bit. I'm not really happy with that, but I don't really know what else I can do about it. So that's pretty much what it's going to be. And in here you can see the steering box. Steering box is new. I'm going to put the data plate on it. It's got a new rag joint in the steering. I don't know what you can see back in here. There's the throttle cable with a new boot throttle block with a new boot on it. You can see how close it is to the engine block there. That hose running across is vacuum for the air conditioner. Again, new Coney springs. All new rebuilt disc brakes. So it's getting there. So the next step is get these exhaust headers on, and then I can start bolting the sheet metal on. I also want to get an H-pipe and see if I can modify it to line up with the headers, and then I can buy a stock rear dual exhaust with the resonators and the other cross muffler on it. And I think I can install that myself without having to pay somebody to do it. I've been trying to do this without paying a lot of people a lot of money for it. All the parts I get, I try to investigate and make sure that they're quality parts, but they don't have to be the high-end parts. A lot of the parts are off of eBay. They've been sourced just for the stuff. But you see there, it's got the circuit breaker for the convertible top. That's all been wired in. Original harness that goes back to through the firewall. Most of the wiring in the car is original and in excellent shape. It's got from the firewall. It's got that yellow wire there that goes to the air compressor pump. I also have to figure out the wiring for the oil pressure gauge that goes to the Shelby gauge. I think the original Shelby ones were mechanical, but I'm going to make it a electronic analog gauge. You can see underneath there possibly the linkage setup. It's pretty much all the way it originally should be, except for that kickdown rod. And I put a 1-inch spacer underneath there. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that, because with the Shelby hood and the Ram Air hood, it may be too tall. It fits right now. I've just mocked it up roughly. It fits, but it might be too tall, and I've got the original block to put on there, which will lower it probably 5/8 of an inch. So I also drilled out for the lights, the deluxe lights for the door and the radio speaker for the speakers. Got those drilled out on both sides. There, you can see it there. I still got to put a plug for the antenna. I've drilled the antenna out. I've also got the passenger side mirror rivets installed, so I can mount that. And I've got most of the hardware to do everything, to get everything installed. And then it's time to move on to the body work. And I am not looking forward to doing that. That's the hole for the antenna that's in the rear. Apparently Shelby put the antennas in the rear to help reduce the noise from the engine. And that's why they put it way back here. So that's where we are to date. I had an issue with the Shelby, those things I made, those little pockets, they're too low. I put them too low. And so I opened these up, and I'm debating now whether I just leave it open or if I have to go back and make those. I made those, and it took a while to make them. I also installed these back bumperettes just to make sure they fit. So everything pretty much is mocked up. Everything is, other than that one end cap, that Shelby end cap that I'm missing, it's pretty much ready to go ahead and be ready for all the sheet metal and start doing some body work. I'd like to finish putting the dash together and get all the gauges in. The next thing is I got to start this thing. You know, as I said, I put new valve seats in it, and I put a new timing chain in it. I put a new water pump on it, a new fuel pump on it, new oil pump, new freeze plugs, and the carburetor's been rebuilt. The engine was pretty clean, but it still probably needs to be a flush. The radiator actually I had it cleaned, taken apart and cleaned. I don't know if it's going to hold up. I might have to get a new radiator. I don't know yet. So that's kind of that. So I thought I'd show you this before I went ahead and started putting the headers in. It's been quite a while since I've taken any video. I also got the vents, side vents that I have to install. Got the fan. Got everything I need. I'm not going with a clutch fan. I'm just going with a regular fixed fan because there's just no room up there. You can see up there there's just no room between the edge of that extension and to the radiator itself. There may be 2 1/4 inches, if that. So I like the way that fuel line worked out. That's the original way it was bent, and it worked out great for that oil filter down, or for the oil pressure. Sorry, for the oil cooler. I bought that from a guy on, he had it on Craigslist, or no, Marketplace. He had a Facebook Marketplace. They're going for like $200, and I bought it for $35 from this guy. So he was cool about it. So anyhow, that's where we are. The engine is in. It does fit. I did it all by myself. The transmission fits fine. The shift leakage is great. Everything is so far working out really well. And so the next step is to get the headers in, get the I have, because right now the power steering pump's out of it. I do have the alternator sitting there, but I'm gonna have to take the alternator out. I'll probably take the radiator out, just so I can get in there easy to put everything back together. And so I'll bring you back when I get closer to what's going on with it. I'm just tickled to death to get some of these Shelby parts because they're just, nobody has them. I've been working with trying to get the Shelby parts for over 1.5 years. Just nobody has them. And I just stumbled across them. I mean, I thought Tony Brand had kept them in stock. That's not the case. Oh, let me show you the Shelby wheels I got in here.